listen to the 65s. Absolutely brilliant. So we go from our biggest and oldest to our smallest and youngest, from our big kids 14 to 16 years on 250 to our fabulous 8 to 11 years class on these tiny 65 power pocket rockets. They are brilliant. They're the greatest bike ever made for my money. A 65cc. I'll tell you what, your average lawnmower is 140cc and it only goes a quarter of the speed. So these machines are flying 65, and you put these lightweight, 25 kg riders on them, and they're a flying missile. And they've got all the excellence of a true championship bike. We're talking about technology, we're talking about handling, we're talking about frame, we're talking about disc brakes front and rear, got real suspension in them. They're a fabulous bike, the 65. And these kids with their lightweight can throw them around like nothing else. So cool to see. It's called our Pro 65 lineup. It's from riders 8 through to 11 years. And these are the riders that are stepping up into junior 65 racing, not mini 65 racing. Of course, you can still be on a 65 back in junior sport, but to be here in this lineup, it is actually a junior sport racing. Brought to us by Bell Helmets. The name means everything. The famous Moto Bell helmet. Everybody wanted a Bell Moto helmet back in our day. They were the helmet, and anybody that got one was, wow, where did you get that from? Because it wasn't a great Crown Kiwi dealer network back in those days. In fact, the Crown Kiwi dealer Shane, I think he was still in nappies. I'm not knocking it, but you get the idea. It's a few moons ago, but everybody wanted a Bell Moto helmet. They were cool, they were rad. There was nothing like them, and here we are to a brand today that is world class, available from Quality Network or even online from the team at Crown Kiwi. Check them out, Bell Helmets. All right, round through the corner we go. Look at that, a lovely line is taken. Just hearing from Lucy before, the bad luck of Levi caused through a faulty kill switch. Man, that's a killer. I've heard of those stories before, but he was a couple of laps back, but he made up a lot of ground. Didn't get any points, but he was pretty philosophical about it, but he scored a chance to make it up. Don't worry, that was only one of the motos. There will still be some others. A 65 racing underway, and I've just had a little quick break, and delighted to be joined here at the moment by BikesportNZ.com and Andy McGee. We're at Andy's home here in Taranaki, and first of all, Andy, what a contrast. We put the 250 four-strokes out, and then straight away we put out the Pro 65s. How cool are these kids, eh?
Well, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the growth of the sport happening right in front of our eyes, because those boys that are in the 65 class now, just a few years' time down the track, they're going to be the guys winning on the 250s. The guys that are winning on the 250s this weekend, they're the guys that in a few years' time will be in the motocross nations team for us in Europe, you know. So this is what we're seeing, is this steady progress that's right here in front of our eyes.
Right, indeed, mini motocross. You've seen plenty of these events over the years. Your press release did it credit as well by talking about a few of them. Is there any surprises, anything that's sort of standing out for you at the moment that you've been seeing this weekend?
It's all surprising to me because they're all going so fast, and a lot of these names I've never really heard of much before, because during the COVID time, of course, things have shut down and closed up, and I haven't been to a lot of these junior events and just have no idea who these guys were. Turn up here, well, now I know who they are.
Yeah, certainly to do so. Hey, Barrett Road living up to its traditions here. It's a tough track, take nothing away. It's tough moto out there, Andy.
This is a track, it's got to be respected. This will jump up and bite you any old time, when you least expect it. I mean, obviously we put on some great weather for you this weekend. We've, it's the jewel in the crown for New Zealand, this place, and it's a best kept secret. I mean, people who come through Abakino Gorge and Mount Messenger, if they want to get that, go through that horrible, arduous drive, they get here and they're greeted by this wonderful facility here, and of course the mountain with the snow on and the beaches and everything all happening. This is a place where you really must come to see it to believe it.
It is indeed. All right. So we've got our top to bottom in racing, from the biggest to the smallest. Now for about the last 3 years, we've put the women's classes into it. And this has got to be good for the New Zealand sport, because we've taken it away from the green grass natural terrain to actually fair dinkum motocross, which the women are going to do, senior women are going to do next year, as well as being part of it. So we are raising the standard for our women's sport, Andy.
What amazes me too, of course, Neil, is that you alluded to it before when you talked about Julie Manor starting off the women's motocross here in New Zealand. Well, look where the growth's gone to now. The numbers we've got in women's motocross, it's phenomenal. We never had that. If you think back 20 years, I mean, a lot of people here weren't even born 20 years ago, but if you look back 20 years, we didn't have this sort of numbers at all. And now you've got them. It's a huge part of our sport.
Great to see indeed. All right, Andy, COVID certainly gave a hard time to our sport, but hey, it did the country and it did everywhere else. We're not immune to that, but hopefully we're out of it. Looking forward to a far better summer this year.
Absolutely. There's a lot coming up. There's the women's and vets. We've got the Superbike Nationals 6 rounds, I think it is this year. 6 rounds, that's right, because they're embedding that in with the Suzuki Series. So there's a lot happening. It's all coming. We're coming back to life. New Zealand leading the world, I think, in a lot of ways, because we did it with our COVID measures. We got things in check with that here in New Zealand, and obviously here we are booming back.
Hey, what about the story of yesterday and Hugh Anderson, 4 times world champion road racer? He was also a world champion motocrosser, but because MotoGP was more recognised at the time, that's where he's actually got his credits for winning on bikes like 50cc and 125cc, pioneering kind of stuff. Finally to be recognised a Hall of Famer in MotoGP. He's up names there like the Max Biaggi's and others that have, Valentino hasn't even got that far yet, but the big names of our sport. So that's a huge thing for little old New Zealand, but must be congratulated, Hugh Anderson.
Absolutely, and of course one of the guys that was interviewing him yesterday was Simon Crafer, also a Kiwi who's gone on to great things overseas with the media, with commentating and what have you, but also he was a former motocross rider, man of a 2 boy, bike shop mechanic, and then he went road racing, and then look what happened with that. He won a Grand Prix, I think it was Donington Park he won, back in about 89 I believe it was, and fantastic. I mean, this is the sport, this is New Zealand for you.
And as well, MotoGP race director and Mike Webb back over as well. Perfect timing for that presentation, because they've just been to Malaysia last weekend and then they're back to Phillip Island for next weekend. So sort of like almost a sort of a 10-day break in between. So there are 2 top people involved in MotoGP, and they're Kiwis, and they're not even out there on a bike.
Absolutely. Of course, Brent Stevens was a mechanic for Valentino Rossi for many, many years. We've got so much involvement in the sport worldwide. New Zealanders really do box above their weight in motorcycling.
Great to see. Hey, Andy, thanks for your stories as always. Keep up your great work. Can we have a bit of a whisper of what the story will look like on Monday morning?
Oh, I've got no idea. I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Okay. Okay, always the famous line from Andy. Thank you, Andy. Bikesportnz.com. We are so lucky to have that man doing a great job with media presentation. Why? Because mainstream media like what Andy writes. So when papers see a write-up from Andy McGeechan, they put it in their motoring, they put it in their guides, they put it in their newspapers, and we get it in our magazine. So thank you, Andy. Great to see. Brad's back with us. He's been hell of a busy as writer's rep as well. Brad, I don't know whether to cut you from the payroll or give you a bonus for being the writer's rep, whichever way you look at it. It's been a tough ask, but hey, we've got through all that stuff now. The track much better today, and these conditions are rocking under the sun. How good's Taranaki? Sorry, we've just got that's an embarrassment, just got a mechanical right at the point when he was about to come in on that one. So, well, there we go. All right, back to our 65, still waiting here close towards the penultimate part of the race. Great to have a chat there with Andy. Thank you, Andy, indeed. So much to offer with our sport, and looks like Brad might be able to come back. Is he going to be on there?
Yeah, how does that sound? That sounds pretty good there. We've nailed that. Brilliant. So, yeah, no, Barrett Road looking an absolute treat. It's fantastic. Formed up beautifully. Now, what I love to see is about seven or eight lines in most corners, you know, these real fast corners, and plenty of different options. We get to see some good overtaking manoeuvres, and that's what the fans come to see. So white flag out, 1 lap to go, and the Jagman in control. So he's got this one well and truly. Connor, who had the early lead, had a big crash over the big downhill tabletop, and so he's had to be relegated, but good to see him mount back on, and he's sitting in third place. Levi Rogers on the 411, the Craig Stevens Motorcycles YZ65 running in second place. So that's our top three, the update at the moment, and we are flying through our Pro 65, 8 to 11 years, brilliant stuff, and on the line our 12 to 14 years, 125. So we're getting through the program well and truly, and the sun's shining, couldn't ask for better conditions, and Barrett Road looking a treat.
He actually, and of course the work that Taylor and the boys did on the track overnight into this morning, I don't know how much sleep that man got. It seemed like he was there after we'd gone last night and the street lights were on, and here before the street lights were switched off this morning. So mega work, guys, and loving it, and so much work out on this track, making vast improvement. Yes, as we knew, you couldn't touch a machine on it for close to 2 weeks in the build-up to the event because it was absolutely saturated by the rain that we know everybody else has been having around the country. It wasn't completely isolated here, although we were in a better part of the country than many other pits, and particularly for that southeasterly flow that the country had dominated through our late last week and early this week. It absolutely smashed many parts of the country, and we were a little bit less here in the Naki, but still got the edge of it, and it still kept that rain going. You kept the machinery off the track, which is why we couldn't get it back on until last night. Very, very lucky. As we called it on Thursday, this was the first part of the country to get the best of the new weather. Had we been anywhere else, we probably wouldn't have got start racing underway until about midday yesterday. So great recovery, and well done the Naki. Brad, we've been talking about different parts of the track. You talk about the multi-lines of the corner. That's been a tricky one. If it takes somebody like Cole Davies to have had a bit of a hiccup for it, it must be more technical than we leisurely get to watch from up here on the hill.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite high speed. The entry of it's very high speed, and once you commit to one of those ruts, that's your line. You've got till you exit the corner, so that's what's catching them out. You've got to look about 10 metres ahead of yourself. And here it is. This is going to be good. The Jagman 101 Method Moto Yamaha New Zealand on board. And that's another good win for Jagger, so he'll be loving that. Good for Levi as well. These are good quality championship points. Second place for him. He's just coming up Horsepower Hill now, so that's going to feel pretty good. Locking away second in that one there. Good 22 championship points. Here's the 116 Feather Holdings man, Connor Feathers there in third place. So that's brilliant stuff. That's our classy top three all in the books. Looking at the lap times, Jagman with a 2:10.9, Connor with a 2:11.4, and Levi with a 2:12 flat. So pretty comparative lap times. So just goes to show how important that start is here at Mach 1 Motocross Park. And in this case, the Jagman gets another 25 points. He's looking good. Double classing as well. So I just caught up with the legendary Mr. Townley Grant. And 4 bikes, two boys, 4 bikes, 4 classes. It's all on for the Townley clan this weekend, and awesome to see some quality results go their way. So this is going to be good. Coming back to our 12 to 14 years, 125. All
right, Ctas Live for your audio and video part of our awesome Aon package for this event. So following it, of course, our commentary is just looking here on the track and the audio taken. So it just shows the racing for us with the remote camera positions as well. So Grant doing a sensational job, as he has done for a number of years. We have him on board in MNZ for our major championship events, both motocross and road racing. And as Andy talked about, a big year to come with our championship events back on the track. A reminder about DJ Mills and the